Every person in the architecture industry has so much potential that, if unlocked, would literally transform the planet from the inside out. How do I know that? This is my story. I studied architecture myself. I did my bachelor's at the Technical University of Vienna, where it was pretty clear that I wanted to become an architect. Namely, I wanted to design and possibly develop buildings one day. And I didn't think of architecture as anything else than that. But that's completely changed when I got into my master's studies and I got accepted to study abroad at the Technical University of Delft in Holland. My worldview completely exploded there. I experienced this inexplicable, vast inner expansion that happened all of a sudden, where my perception of what it means to be an architect completely changed. And I realized that architecture was not this bubble separated from the world, but it could be and do far more than we realize. And so Delft was inspiring, but on the other side of the coin, it was one of the most challenging times of my life. I experienced a sudden memory loss following a prophecy. So imagine that happening during one of your deadlines, right? Really great. I experienced a skin infestation that felt unbeatable, that kept me awake, literally awake. I couldn't sleep every second night. And my graduation project pushed me to my limits, so much that I was just happy to graduate and thank you. I was actually convinced that it could only get better from here on. Ooh, was I wrong? It's only after my graduation that my journey reached this thundering crescendo. It was the evening of my 27th birthday where my whole kind of worldview shattered. I started to question everything. I questioned myself. I questioned the people around me. I questioned architecture. And that kind of led me to follow my truth, even though I didn't even know what that meant. But I swore to myself that I was only going to do stuff that was really aligned with who I am. But who was I anyway? So that kind of led me on a deep, deep internal path, on a deep journey of getting to know who I really am. And that was like the catalyst of a very big transformation that I was about to go on. And so I followed my heart, I followed my truth. I moved to Australia. I declined a corporate job offer at a big global architecture firm. And I heard a clear calling to give back everything that I had received, to share all the experiences that I had gone through in and out of architecture school, extract the lessons from them and apply them to the collective so that others, other architects, other designers, other students, other graduates didn't have to go through the same thing. And so that's how What Architecture School Does Not Teach You was born. An empowerment platform that links outer change with inner transformation and is on a mission to inspire architects and designers to share their truth. We all have this essence inside of us, this essence of who we really are, but we don't feel it's there in most cases because it's covered up. It's muddled by certain layers that we've built up in our lifetime, certain layers of conditioning of what we think other people want us to do, societal conditioning. So all of that covers up this inner essence of our being to such an extent that we really feel disconnected to that inner place that is actually always there. And that can manifest in many different ways. For example, we don't know what our strengths are, we don't know where our power lies, we don't know how to contribute, where our place is in the world. We have a hard time to really relate to others. We don't allow ourselves to feel. There's a sense of not feeling whole. But of course that's a lie, that's an illusion, because we are always whole. We just perceive that we are not whole. So it's a problem of perception. And this is most commonly known as the illusion of separation, which is on a more collective level, a pervasive kind of inner wound, if you want to think about it in that way, that is inside of everyone to to some extent. And this illusion of separation really creates a story of who we are in relation to everything else in the world. It influences how we design and build, what structures and systems we create and uphold. It influences how we relate to the natural world. It influences how we deal with challenges, how we do business. And so the work really lies in undoing that illusion of separation, because it is an illusion after all. So what we need to do is we need to take off those layers. We need to go on our own journey of undoing and undo those layers that we've built around ourselves as protection, kind of. And that journey starts with self-awareness. Becoming aware of those layers of conditioning. Only when we become aware, we can shed them. And I will tell you from personal experience that this journey is not always pretty, but shedding those layers of conditioning and reconnecting with the truth of who you really are is one of the most exciting, one of the most invigorating, and one of the most liberating adventures you can ever embark on in your entire life. And so I believe self-awareness is the key, and it's also the key to navigating the future. We are facing this future that is highly unpredictable. And so my question to you and all of us is, does architecture school prepare us to face this world post-graduation? Does it equip us with all the necessary skills, attitudes, and qualities to take on those challenges in the world with grace, to thrive and not just survive and create a prosperous future for all? Architecture school teaches us a lot of valuable skills, like the technical skills, knowledge around sustainability, critical thinking, history. It teaches us the hard skills, the measurable hard skills. But that's just one side of the coin. What is missing is the crucial other side of the coin, which are the soft skills. The skills that are not so easily measurable, and therefore they cannot be taught that easily. They need to be instilled. So we're talking about soft skills like responsibility, compassion, self-awareness, empathy, emotional intelligence, self-care, leadership. All those things that are so vital and crucial to face a world that is so uncertain. And so if we take all these soft skills and if we distill them down into one soft skill, it would probably all boil down to self-awareness. That's my feeling. Because the more self-aware we are, the more we come into this deep embodied knowing of interconnectedness with the entire world. With that comes a natural compassion. It's not forced. With that comes a natural sense of leadership. It's not forced. With that comes emotional intelligence and a certain humility. So everything boils down to self-awareness. And so the work lies in balancing both those sides. And once we do that, we will also realize it's not about blaming architecture school. It's about taking responsibility, literally, and stepping up to the plate. We're going through a vast transition in the world. And it's on us, the young generation, to make this transition, to bring about a new world in that sense. And while that may seem like a big burden to carry, I want to open you and every one of us up to the idea that the 21st century can actually be kick-ass exciting times full of potential, where we get to shed light into our deepest depths, step into our power, and remember who we really are, individually and collectively. I don't know about you, but I have received so many messages and books and articles telling me that we need to do X, Y, Z and act now quickly, otherwise X, Y, Z will happen. And I understand it's important to hear, to know what's going on. But for me personally, it has always kind of instilled more fear. And it actually immobilized me. It made me feel paralyzed, and I didn't act. And so that led me to believe in a very different approach. Instead of coming from fear, I believe we need to see this transition and to make it from a place of beauty, from a place of love, from a place of compassion, from a place of potential. There's so much inside of us that we're not even aware of. So many latent abilities and capacities that we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible. If we peel off all those layers of conditioning and reconnect to that truth of who we really are, we will naturally undergo this deep transformation that will connect us to this greater sense of purpose, and it will invoke in us new thoughts, words, and actions. And this will naturally lead to a different consciousness on the planet, individually and collectively. Albert Einstein said, no problem can be solved with the same consciousness, with the same mindset that created it. So that basically means in order to solve our problems, we need to approach them with a different kind of awareness. And that awareness to me cannot come from fear, because we have seen it. It doesn't take us that far. And it cannot, because it's not who we really are. It's part of our conditioning that we can only change the world if we force, we control. But if we come from a different energy, from a different consciousness, that is all about play and exploration and lightness and realizing the potential, the incredible potential that's inside of us, we are capable of incredible things. And I'm so excited to explore that together. Sure, we can put out all the frameworks in the world, the most climate positive buildings, the most amazing material technologies. But if we don't approach these with a higher consciousness, what will happen is that a certain entropy kicks in, a loss in the system, and slowly and surely we'll just recreate more of the same, just wrapped up in a different form. So unless we change from the inside out, we will always adapt the external world to our own internal psychological needs. So this inner transformation is so necessary. When we do the inner transformation, we will still put out all those solutions, but we will come from a very different place. A place that is much more inspired, much more collaborative, much more honest, much more compassionate, and therefore much more sustainable. And so I want to ask you, who is the most truthful version of you? Who are you in your core? And are you ready to find out? My name is Inés, and this is what architecture school does not teach you. Welcome.